from Fortune.com. People who skipped their COVID vaccine are at higher risk of traffic accidents, according to a new study. Really? Okay. I'm ready to see every media outlet just gutted. At this point, just fire them all. We need to get some billionaires like Elon, you bought Twitter. You can buy these outlets for much cheaper. Buy them, just fire everybody. Just no more. I can't anymore with this. What does getting vaccinated have to do with getting into a car accident?
Well, my guess is that they did a study or a group of studies, and they found that people that hadn't been vaccinated had gotten into more car accidents in the past. And then now they're extrapolating in some unfounded conclusion that it means in the future, they're also going to be at risk of it, which is insane. It's inaccurate. That's my guess. I haven't read the article yet, but let's find out.
I forgot who said this, but someone responded to this story saying that's because all the vaccinated people are suffering heart attacks in their homes and not driving their cars. That's one possibility. Who knows? I'm not a medical doctor. So,
look.
But again, this is desperate propaganda, just trying to gaslight people to push a big pharma product that extensively is being used as a form of compliance for the general public.
I gotta say, as I always do, talk to your doctor about what's right for you, right? Don't get advice from podcasts. I just gotta say, however, if you go to your doctor and say, Doc, now I haven't gotten the vaccine. Am I at risk for getting into a car accident? He's going to be like, what?
According to Fortune magazine.
Or I got another idea. This is a threat to all the unvaccinated people saying, hey, you're not vaccinated. You're going to get in a car accident here, and we're going to make sure you're going to take this or else.
I think it is.
Because how else could they get so desperate? Dude, how else? This is ridiculous.
Last Christmas, I think Biden told people you're in for a season of death, of
severe death and illness. And I remember being on the show being like, that's not happening. It's propaganda.
It's going to be Biden in a car, and he's gonna be like sitting like across the street with his engine off, and he sees you leave your house, and then he starts following you, and then he speeds around, cuts you off, and then T-bones you.
Dr. Fauci in a little Fisher Price car. Like, yeah. Get him!
Biden gets out and goes, "Come on, man, get vaccinated."
I don't think it would happen.
It's too late.
But it's possible that a society would track everyone that got vaccinated, like the CCP's been doing, tracking people, and then start intentionally harming people that haven't been vaccinated and then blaming it on them not getting vaccinated. I don't think there's any evidence that that's happened, but that could be a movie.
Okay, wait, well, to be fair, let's read what they're saying. They say if you passed on getting the COVID vaccine, you might be a lot more likely to get into a car crash. Or at least those are the findings of a new study published this month in the American Journal of Medicine. During the summer of 2021, Canadian researchers examined the encrypted government-held records of more than 11 million adults, 16% of whom hadn't received the vaccine. They found that the unvaccinated people were 72% more likely to be involved in a severe traffic crash, in which at least one person was transported to the hospital, than those who were vaccinated. That's similar to the increased risk of car crashes for people who with sleep apnea, though only about half of the people who abuse alcohol, researchers find. The excess risk of a car crash posed by unvaccinated drivers exceeds the safety gains from modern automobile engineering advances and also imposes risks on other road users, the authors wrote. All right. I wouldn't be surprised if where we're going with this is we are hereby announcing that your driver's license cannot be renewed unless you're up to date on your vaccines. I think they were already doing that in some places, like you need to prove a vaccination or whatever. But where that then brings us is no one's allowed to drive anymore. Self-driving cars only.
I think this article is a self-own. They did say that it might. The headline says that it is, and then the first sentence is that it might, so they're contradicting themselves. This says they are at a higher risk, and then the first sentence says they might be, so that's a lie. Mm-hmm. They're lying in some way. And then it's exactly what I said earlier. It was something in the past indicated that more people that hadn't been vaccinated got into 72% more car accidents in a study. That does not indicate that in the future that will also happen. That is not an indication of that.
Ian, stop questioning the science. Okay?
I don't even think this is science.
Hold on. I can actually break down for you why this is true.
Is it has to do with risk, I'm assuming? Or people that are more willing to take more risk? That's what I'm thinking.
It's real simple. Okay. People who got vaccinated were more likely to stay home, terrified of getting sick. And people who didn't were more likely to go out and keep working.
True.
So what did they find?
Yeah.
Well, gee, look at all these. Yes, because people who go outside face danger.
Yeah.
I love it. And now I'm telling you, Christmas is coming up. And there's going to be someone in your family who's like, well, you should have went and gotten the vaccine because now you're going to get in a car accident. And you're going to be like, Ma, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. Well, I was watching the MSNBC and they said, oh, geez.
You'd be like, oh, yeah, Fortune magazine.
I was thinking,
that's a verified, trusted media
it is.
source.
What are you talking about? NewsGuard certified 100 out of 100.
All right, well, that's got to come down now.
I mean, obviously,
I was thinking about that Yuri Bezmenov quote where he said someone who's totally demoralized, you could show them proof that black is white and white is white, and they won't. They cannot be taken out of this. And I'm thinking just that explains it. And that interview is from 40 years ago?
Yeah.
Where he's talking about demoralization. It explains how you can actually go to someone and say, here is a picture of the thing. And they'll be like, nah. Okay, well then what do you do, man? Mm-hmm. If there are people who just like eat this stuff up and believe it, and they lack the ability to understand nuance, what is the end result? Half the planet implodes, the other half just rebuilds?
If you do nothing, but you can give people morale boosts. Great commanders do that. Great artists can do that. And that will wake people up in their own mind, and then they'll start to notice their surroundings.
This is what I was talking about with the Washington Post thing. How when you watch a show like this, we try and break down the story. We try to make sense of it. And if you read the news, they just say this garbage. The headline should literally say, ridiculous study claims people who skip the COVID vaccine are at a higher risk for traffic accidents, ignores common sense. And then it could have said right away, people who were getting the vaccine were probably more likely to stay home, and people who didn't were probably more likely to go out. And if you go outside, you're more likely to get into a car accident. Story's over. Have a nice day.
or they could have just said, "Hey, we're desperate. We're being paid by Big Pharma to shill for this. Just please take it." Gene, would this news story make you take the vaccine?
Well, as someone who's been in a few car accidents, no. Look, this is exactly, all of you guys are correct. You're making really good points, which is there are special influences who are funding a lot of these studies and these polls and the things that you see that are driving news. And there's a failure from the legacy media and from outlets that are NewsGuard certified to actually report things in a way that makes sense to people. I mean, that was the most nonsensical thing you could ever imagine. Every American knows correlation is not causation, but here we are, and you see something like that, and if that headline doesn't strike you as absolute insanity and divorced from reality, then like you ought to go get your head examined. You ought to go talk to somebody because there's something wrong. You aren't able to understand things clearly.
But get your gut examined. It's probably a lot of gut trauma.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
But they're just going. What they're going to do is they're going to try and find someone to affirm them.
Right.
And then they'll just be like, please tell me I'm right. And they'll say, you're right. And they'll go, oh, it feels good.
But I don't think those people are happy. I know that state of mind when people are like, please just put me back in the pod. But it's not like a blissful happiness state, those people. They want more. And when they realize there's more, when you control your own reality, I think it's much more enjoyable for people. And they do seek that out when they know it's available.
Considering, I'd be willing to state, I bet you'll see other correlations in this way. Because... and this is just my speculation. The people who were scared enough, the people who were not worried and didn't get vaccinated, probably went outside. So I bet you could find a correlation between people who are vaccinated and the amount of vitamin D in someone's system. Well, people who are vaccinated probably stayed inside. Yeah. And it's not just because of fear. It's because people in New York more likely to be vaccinated than people in West Virginia. Yeah. West Virginia, you're in the middle of nowhere. And your neighbor is, a football field away. So you're just like, I ain't going to touch anything or anybody. What am I worried about? You live in New York. You're in a cubicle smashed up next to people. And you can't go eat unless you get proof of vaccination. Yeah. You're more likely to be locked inside. You're more likely to get the vaccine. I bet you'll even find higher instances of organic food consumption among people who aren't vaccinated. Because they're going to be conservative people out in rural areas who are eating like farm meat that's like grass-fed beef and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different data out there, and I think there's also data that's not being looked at and ignored and not calculated that also should be. I see Florida making a big step in the right direction, now officially saying that they're going to be launching investigations. They're going to be looking into the correlations. They're going to be looking into some of the possible big problems here. And again, data could be twisted and manipulated in many different ways, but there's a lot of glaring data that does complicates the picture of what we're seeing here, especially when it comes to Sweden, especially when it comes to Haiti, especially when it comes to the countries in Africa. There's a lot of questions that should be asked here. There should be more data. There should be more investigations. And the only people doing them is a state of the United States. It's only Florida doing these investigations. Come on, we could do better. The truth matters here at the end of the day. We should be investigating. We should be getting the data. We're not, which is an absolute shame.
Have you been involved in any of these investigations?
Look, I mean, we have some investigations about the communications between the government and some of these private entities that we've been undertaking, that we started when Jen Psaki sat at the White House podium last summer and said, hey, we've been collaborating with these tech companies and we're flagging misinformation, disinformation. But in terms of the side effects of some of these things, and in some of the, being at increased risk of myocarditis and all of these other issues, are things that, like, it's great that the state of Florida is doing that. That is the kind of thing that any objective, good government would do, is you search out the truth. You're not afraid of the truth. You ask the questions and you follow the line to its logical conclusion.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.